This mower is smoking quite badly. I've checked all of the seals around the actual motor and there's nothing apparent there. So there is a film of oil across the front of the deck, which would suggest to me that potentially there's a head gasket leak here. I've also had some problems in starting the mower, and that can be related back to a few things. I've checked all of the fittings, they all seem quite secure, although when the mower's tipped on its side, the fuel does leak out of the fuel cap, so there's a problem there. So I've got a few bits and pieces that have been ordered for this mower. I'm going to run through various different things. The mower's going to have a complete service. The air filter is quite blocked, I've just checked that. So that has to be replaced, and there's oil coming out through that air cleaner as well. So hopefully we can rectify all of that. Probably should have done this before we started, but that appears to have solved the leaking issue. So when you look at these, there's nothing really very apparent that can go wrong here. You could possibly replace that seal, but it was leaking quite badly, so I decided just to purchase a new one and be done with it. Some of the tools we'll be using today. It's a clamp, so I can clamp open the lock on the mower and keep it running. You'll also need something to remove and check the spark plugs, so I'll be doing that a little bit later. You'll also need some Allen keys to remove the top of this mower, a torch if you need a bit of extra light. I'm anticipating that the head gasket will need replacing in this. Couldn't buy a head gasket for this particular mower, so I've just got some gasket maker. I've also decided to purchase a reed valve for this as well, just in anticipation. I'm assuming that we will have problems with it as well, and it's just as easy to replace that when I'm in there. It's only a few dollars. There's also a keyway that comes with it, or they can purchase separately. It's probably good advice to change these at the same time. But today is going to be a full service on this mower. I'm also going to replace the oil, do a complete oil change. I got a new air filter because the old one it's full of oil and it's quite badly bogged up. And I've also got a new spark plug. I've had a look at the spark plug in this mower. It's not too bad actually, but decided that during the entire service I'll just do a complete replacement. That way the job's done, and hopefully that will fix all of my issues. So the mower hasn't been overfilled with oil. It is quite black. I bought this mower second hand, so it's a bit of guesswork actually as to how long it's been since an oil change. So I think we won't do it any harm by changing the oil in it. Get your nose out of there, Ellie. While the mower's in the inverted position, it's a good chance to check out the underneath. There's no obvious signs of any oil leaks in here. It's also a good time to check that the blade's tight and check the condition of the blade. This blade has had seen a few better days, but I'll take that off and I'll hit it with a grinder. Just sharpen it up a little bit. Using an impact socket, 16mm. Belt has seen a bit of wear, but unfortunately I don't have anything to replace that at the moment. So it'll have to make do for a little while longer. All the wheels and the running gear are very good in this. Pull the cover off. You'll need a 3mm hex key. Okay, well, it's obviously been a little bit of Faraday repair work done here. Still seems to be moving okay, so we might just leave that for now. I'm going to pull the top off so we can have a look what's happening here underneath. These are 8mm nuts, and I don't have a socket small enough. So we have the spindle nuts in here, so I'll just get the impact wrench to take that off. You'll need a 24mm socket for your impact. If you don't have an impact, you have to chop off the bottom where the blade is and just do it with a ratchet. There's a retaining washer inside, so make sure that that goes back on. You can clearly see the oil residue in there. It's actually running out front here. So that's the problem. This is what leads me to suspect that we're having an issue with our head gasket. You can remove the petrol tank and just put it to one side. Also, the filter was quite badly clogged. I did hit it with an air cleaner with the pressure hose a little bit earlier, but it's too far gone, so I'm just going to replace that. It was also completely filled with oil. I tried to clean that out, but the oil's still coming through. Hence the reason for the exercise. So the next exercise is to get this head unit off. I don't have a puller, unfortunately, so I'll have to use a different method. Put some anti-seize down in there just to help to release it. Let that sit for a few minutes. So the brake has to be locked back so I can get this off. And use something like a clamp. I don't have any pullers, so I'm going to have to remove the coil in order to get the head off. I can get it to focus. 0.457 mil. Seems to fit quite well. Okay, looks like I need a bigger persuader. There we go. Okay, now this gives me access to the top cover. So I'll remove these bolts and pull this off. Also, should pay attention to this keyway. Everything I've read tells me that it should be replaced, and I've actually bought one to do that. There'd be nothing worse than doing this entire job and then this thing slipping. So probably best practice to remove that and replace it. So I just need to break the seal. The oil filter can come right out. Just put that to one side. There we go. Okay. So there's the reed valve. It actually looks like it's seen better days. So this sealant will have to be removed. I'll replace all of that, replace the reed valve. And the head gasket here will have to be cleaned off, and we'll apply some gasket sealer to that. So quite clearly there is some leakage around that hose. Find usually the easiest way to get these off is just to use a sharp knife and just persist with it. Try and not damage the actual metal. So just be careful in this process. A brass wire brush is also effective in this process. The wire brush does a pretty good job. Just make sure you get all the goo off before you put your new gasket on. It's looking a bit better, okay. Try and be careful to keep any goo from getting down inside the actual motor. Okay, so that's tidied up really good now. I'm just going to replace the reed valve, the reed breather rather. Just make sure it goes back on the exact same position. There's a little vent here which faces upwards. Reed valves act as a shut-off valve to keep oil from coming back through the motor. And they're notorious for that whenever they go bad. So I think that's probably one of the reasons, because when I took the top off, it was completely saturated in there. So obviously this wasn't operating properly. Also, when you're putting it back together, it pays to check all of these fittings. That breather hose is actually fitting back in properly and not leaking any oil. Otherwise, you're back to square one. These reed valves are quite flimsy. It takes very little wear on them for them to actually leak and let the oil back through the motor again. So hopefully that has fixed the problem. Make sure there's no residue on there. And add to Permatex. That to one side, we'll get this back on the mower. We'll just remove that keyway out of there and we'll get rid of that. We'll just clean this up. And I'll put the new keyway on. I've cleaned up these points in the coil so they make a good connection when the whole thing goes back together. And I like to finish these by hand, just so that they're not stripped out or over tightened. Very hard to tell with an impact. Make sure you've got your washer in here, where you snug this up. There we go. Yeah, and there is one thing I forgot to add. There's a wire that adds onto your coil here. Put that back on. Otherwise your coil's not going to run very well, if at all. There you go. Also pays to check. If you have a rubber seal for this, it's probably wise to replace it. I don't have one right now, so we'll just put it back in for the moment. It's nice and snug. With the Pernatex gasket, we can't actually start this for 24 hours. So I'll refill all of the oil, put this all back together, and then tomorrow we'll give it a run, see where we go from there. Perfect fit. That's pleasing. Like I said, that spark plug is actually not too bad. But I bought a new one, so I'll replace it anyway. Maybe just keep this as a spare. The replacement for this is a BKR5E 7938. We're about half full. Very important not to overfill these little engines. Then you're right back to square one with oil leaking. It's got to go somewhere, so I'll just push it out either through the top, through the seals here, down around the bottom, in around the motor, or out the front again. So that's just about spot on now. Tomorrow when I fire the engine up, any engine oil that's been trapped down in here will probably burn off. So it may take 15, maybe 20 minutes for that to burn off completely. Then you should have a nice, clean, running motor. Well, replacing that reed valve has certainly solved the problem of the oil leaking. There's no evidence of any oil leaking out of this anymore. So I'm quite pleased about that. The motor itself's not running very well. That sounds like it could be a carburetor issue, which is something I'll cover in a different video. But all in all, quite happy with how this little mower is performing. right now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if it's something you want to see more of.